Firstpost Spotlight, where we bring you stories that matter to you from all across the world. From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, we shed light on issues that shape our world. I'm Alison LaGrange, live from Durban, South Africa. Let's begin with the top headlines. Russia launches a wave of aerial attacks at Ukraine in an abrupt end to a fragile 30-hour Easter truce between the two sides. This comes hours after the US president said he hoped a deal could be struck this week. The Indian Space Research Organization successfully executes the second docking of the two satellites, which are a part of the Space Docking Experiment mission SpaceX. Earlier this year, India became the fourth country after the US, Russia and China to conduct the docking experiment. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi is set to visit China on Tuesday ahead of a third round of nuclear talks between Iran and the United States. Araghchi previously visited China in December. The United Nations warns that access to humanitarian aid remains dangerously restricted in Sudan's Al Fasher and surrounding areas, where the RSF has launched multiple attacks over recent weeks. And Vietnamese property tycoon Trong My Lan, who was jailed for life in a $17 billion money laundering case, has her sentence cut to 30 years on appeal after she claimed that what happened was an accident. Hello and welcome. We begin with the latest from India, where after visiting Italy, US Vice President J.D. Vance landed in the Indian national capital for a high-stakes visit. Vice President Vance, joined by the second lady, Usha Vance, and their three children, landed in New Delhi this morning for a 4-day visit that will see high-level negotiations, as well as a family sightseeing tour. With all three Vance children sporting traditional Indian attire, the US Vice President and his family were received by the Indian Railways Minister at the airport. The US Vice President was also accorded a ceremonial Guard of Honor. Later in the morning, J.D. Vance and his family visited the Swaminarayan Akshardham temple on the banks of the River Yamuna. Now, the U.S. second family prayed at the Hindu temple for about an hour. The temple spokesperson later said that the American leader and his family prayed for world peace. J.D. Vance is scheduled to meet with India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi shortly. Prime Minister Modi will also host the U.S. Vice President for an official dinner. Next on the Vance family itinerary are visits to the historic cities of Agra and Jaipur. The Vance family is also expected to visit the West Godavari district of southern India's Andhra Pradesh state, the ancestral place of second lady Usha Vance. While the ongoing sightseeing of India's famous places by the Vance family is garnering due attention, the spotlight is on the potential geo-economic outcomes of the visit, and more importantly, the results of the talks between Prime Minister Modi and J.D. Vance. The talks are likely to focus on fast-tracking a much-awaited bilateral trade deal, a part of which India and the US hope to finalize by the autumn. Apart from the trade liberalization, the talks are expected to focus on defense cooperation, as well as boosting Indian investments in the US. Reports say that the US is likely to push for immigration enforcement as well as energy purchases during J.D. Vance's ongoing India visit. Even as President Trump's tariff war looms large over Indo-US ties, the American Vice President's India visit comes at a time when Trump administration's commercial links in the world's fifth largest economy are steadily growing. Trump family-owned Trump Towers has announced at least 2 new real estate projects in India, At the same time, top Trump aide Elon Musk's companies, Tesla and Starlink, are also making inroads into sales and progress with respect to government permissions in the country. And as Vice President Vance visits India with his family, the Indo-US economic relations look for a potential reset. This is a developing story, and we will keep you updated. And now let's turn our attention to West Asia, where the United States is escalating its relentless campaign against the Iran-backed Houthis. Fresh US airstrikes have once again targeted Yemen's capital, Sana'a. At least 12 people were killed and at least 30 were injured in the latest attack on the Yemeni capital. Reports suggest that the US strikes hit several locations across Sana'a on Sunday. Now, these locations include the Atan district, which has been under Houthi control since 2014, as well as the sanitation project in the Asr area. The strikes also targeted Furwa neighborhood and a busy market in the Shob district. Now, the US Central Command has not yet responded to requests for comment regarding these latest strikes. These strikes follow a series of intensified US military actions in Yemen. Over the weekend, Washington also launched 13 strikes on the port and airport of Hodeidah. Last week, a particularly devastating attack on the Razia port in Hodeidah resulted in the death of at least 80 people and left more than 150 others wounded. Now, the Houthi-held area in Yemen has now been subjected to near-daily airstrikes by the United States. Since the Trump administration announced a major military offensive against the Houthis in March, more than 200 people are reported to have been killed. The Trump administration has said that these strikes are aimed at forcing the Houthi group to cease their attacks on ships in the Red Sea, which is a major conduit for international trade. Since November of 2023, the Houthis have reportedly launched over 100 attacks on vessels that they claim have links to Israel. These actions are stated to be in response to Israel's ongoing war in Gaza and as a demonstration of solidarity with Palestinians. The Houthi attacks have severely disrupted shipping through the Suez Canal, a vital waterway that normally handles approximately 12% of global shipping traffic. This disruption has forced many companies to undertake significantly longer and much more expensive routes around the Cape of Good Hope in South Africa. Now, earlier this year, the Houthis had halted their attacks on shipping lanes during a 2-month ceasefire in Gaza. However, they pledged to resume these strikes after Israel renewed its military operations in the besieged enclave last month. As the United States continues to step up its attacks on the Iran-backed Houthis, the situation in Yemen remains highly volatile. The Trump administration's seemingly incessant attacks on Yemen-based Houthis is causing ripples around West Asia, which is already grappling with multiple conflicts and humanitarian crises at once. We will continue to bring you the latest updates from the region as this story develops. And we shift our focus to Europe, where Britain's Royal Air Force, or RAF, fighter jets intercepted Russian aircraft as they approached NATO airspace over the Baltic Sea. According to the UK's Ministry of Defence, the fighter jets took action as part of the UK's contribution to NATO's enhanced air policing in the region. The mission has been named Operation Chessman. Now, the ministry said that a pair of RAF Typhoons were scrambled last week, twice from Malbork Air Base in Poland. On the 15th of April, they intercepted a Russian Ilyushin IL-20M Kuta intelligence aircraft. Then, on the 17th of April, another 2 Typhoons intercepted unknown aircraft leaving from Russian enclave Kaliningrad, which was close to the NATO air base in Poland. Now, these were the first intercepts by British Air Force as a part of Operation Chessman since they arrived in the area to help to protect NATO's eastern flank. While working with Sweden, and this also follows British Prime Minister Keir Starmer's commitment to increase defence spending to 2.5% of GDP. The UK Minister for the Armed Forces, Luke Pollard, said that the country was unshakable in its commitment to NATO, and he stated that amid the growing security threats from Russia, the UK was increasing its efforts to reassure its allies, deter adversaries, and to ensure the safety of the country. Now, the UK Minister also said that the mission demonstrated Britain's ability to defend NATO's airspace whenever needed. The country has deployed 6 Typhoon jets and nearly 200 personnel from its 140 Expeditionary Air Wing. This is in its contribution to military alliances' air policing efforts. Now, last April, these Typhoon jets, along with personnel, were stationed in Romania to defend NATO's eastern border. And in August, 4 F-35 jets were placed in Iceland, defending the alliance's airspace in the north. Now, this was not the first time that British jets were used to intercept Russian aircraft. Last year, 2 Typhoons based at a UK airbase in Scotland were scrambled after a Russian Bear-F bomber flew over the North Sea. That time, Britain's Ministry of Defence said a Russian reconnaissance plane had been detected in the UK's area of interest. In fact, in 2023, NATO air forces across Europe scrambled well over 300 times to intercept Russian military aircraft approaching Alliance airspace. The increasing number of aerial encounters between NATO and Russian jets underlines the simmering tensions in the region, as the war in Ukraine shows no signs of reaching a truce. And in our final story, we take you to the Indo-Pacific, where the Philippines is witnessing a major boost to its defense arsenal with India's BrahMos supersonic cruise missile systems as it confronts China's growing belligerence in the region. India has dispatched the second batch of BrahMos supersonic cruise missile systems to the Philippines. Unlike the first batch, which was delivered via an Indian Air Force aircraft last year, India transported the second batch of BrahMos by sea. Now, reports cited this as a demonstration of not just logistical efficiency, but also India's ability to scale up its defense export operations in response to increasing global demand. The delivery marks another step ahead in the $375 million deal signed between India and the Philippines in 2022. Now, as a part of the deal, the Philippines is to get 3 BrahMos missile batteries, of which it is receiving the second one with New Delhi's latest dispatch. Earlier in April of 2024, New Delhi delivered the first batch of BrahMos missiles to the Philippines. Now, the Filipino Navy officers have undergone training in India on the operation and the maintenance of the missile systems, which is regarded as one of the most advanced cruise missiles. And now that's because the BrahMos system, with a range of 290 kilometers, can be fired with a speed of about 3,400 kilometers per hour, which is about 3 times the speed of sound. The systems are versatile, as they can be launched from submarines, ships, aircraft, or land. For island or archipelago buyers such as the Philippines, the versatile ability of the BrahMos adds to their enhanced state of defense while dealing with aggressors such as China. Now, this exact ability has brought many potential buyers from BrahMos systems, with other Indo-Pacific nations such as Indonesia and many in West Asia showing an interest to add BrahMos to their defense arsenal.
Indonesia is interested, you're right. But the discussions are about to begin, so I won't be able to share any information regarding that because the discussions are just about to begin. There are other countries also who have shown interest in BrahMos, some countries in the Middle East and some other countries in Southeast Asia. But I think it's too early because these are sensitive matters. So unless the talks progress to a level where we have confidence that they are going ahead, I don't want to say.
The Philippines sees BrahMos cruise missiles as a significant game changer and essential to pushing back against Chinese expansionist claims in the West Philippine Sea. The Philippines has constructed a base for its newly acquired BrahMos missiles in western Luzon's Zambales. The area has seen several Chinese intrusions in recent weeks. The newly constructed naval base also overlooks the Scarborough Shoal, effectively controlled by China despite a 2016 international tribunal ruling against it. India has emphasized a staunch adherence to rules-based order as key to prosperity in the Indo-Pacific. New Delhi is also leaning support to Manila for upholding its national sovereignty. Reports say that BrahMos missile deliveries demonstrate India's growing role as a net security provider in the Indo-Pacific, as many regional players look at alternatives to the dominance of China and the US in the region. Now, India has asserted its commitment to fostering a secure Indo-Pacific by engaging in joint exercises, capacity-building programs, and humanitarian assistance missions. Given India's history of defending nations' right to choose its own interest or strategic autonomy, New Delhi has always been an attractive defense partner for like-minded nations. Is the successful BrahMos delivery the start of India's journey to being a key defense exporter as well? And that's all we have on the show for today. We will see you again tomorrow at the same time. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to Firstpost.
From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, shedding light on the world's top headlines, detailed analysis on the stories that matter the most to you. Catch it all on Spotlight at 6 p.m. India time and 12:30 GMT, only on Firstpost.
Hello and a very warm welcome. I am Gasheen Garland and you're watching Firstpost. In the next few minutes, I get you the top 40 updates from around the world, only here on Fast and Factual. Let's go.